Hello, Astro Darlings, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this lovely podcast here in Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is raining, and it has been raining for the last 2 days, which is good. But very rainy, very beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica, on Sunday, the 7th of September in the year 2025. And if you have been following me and you have been connected to me, you know that we are having a lunar eclipse. And that eclipse happened at 2:09 Eastern Time this afternoon. And that would have been 12:09 my time in Costa Rica. And so this is what's going on this week. It's the eclipse. And we're going into this first week of the eclipse corridor. And then next week will be not an eclipse, but the time in between, sort of the weekend in between the eclipses, that week between. And then it will be another week. And then the following Sunday, the 21st, we will have a solar eclipse. This eclipse occurred in Pisces at 15 degrees 23 minutes of Pisces. It's a full moon, which means the sun is in Virgo, as you know, because it's Virgo season. And we are now in the throes of this energy of the eclipse. Now, as I looked at my chart in my program a moment ago, I see that as this is a North Node eclipse, the moon is exactly right on the North Node right now. So it's been a few hours since the eclipse, and the moon is now doing the connection to the node. This is what we would call a North Node eclipse, and it is about fulfillment, and it is about the direction we're going in, and it is about connection to the all things Piscean, which are spirit, vision, creativity, source, water, and anything that is relative to dreams and sleep and, relaxation and, just sort of an ease and a flow. Now, Pisces is also a sign of addiction. And I would say that realistically, we're all addicted to something, whether it's chocolate cake, whether it's anger and rage, and I'll speak about that in a moment, whether it's harder substances than chocolate cake, whether it's television, anger and rage, and the hormones and the emotions of stress are things our body physically craves when we don't give it that. So, you've heard of people be rageaholics, and you're like, how can that be? Well, yeah, it's the chemicals that flood your body when you allow yourself to go to these various places of stress. And so this is something that we want to be aware of and, kind of work with and control in the realm of keeping ourselves out of stress. And there are people who are addicted to chaos, which is part of that same scenario. Virgo is the other side of this eclipse. It's at the South Node. That's where the South Node is. That's where the sun is right now, at the South Node. And the thing about this is that Virgo is the place, and you've heard me talk about this for a while now since the nodes have been in these signs. Virgo's the place where we go to worry. It's the place where we go to try to control things. And that's in the South Node respect. Virgo has lots of wonderful attributes. Virgo is organized and detail-oriented and wonderful about being present and loyal and respectful. Virgo's an amazing sign for health and well-being. But in the South Node respect, it wants those addictive things, the analysis, the over worrying, the overthinking. And so Pisces says trust. Virgo says I'm going to overthink this. And that Virgo South Node also goes along with the hormones of stress that can flood our bodies. So we want to kind of pull those emotions down a bit and go with this flow of trusting. And I wrote my blog, and if you want to see it, you can go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and click on Astrologer's Thoughts, which is at the bottom of the landing page. And it will take you to all of my blogs, and you can read about what I talk about for this eclipse, talking about connecting with Source within us and all around us. And this is something that could be very helpful during this time. Now, people have been connecting with me, and people are down in the dumps. And eclipse season is going to bring up all sorts of emotions, especially in the watery realm of Pisces. And it's going to give us that feeling of discomfort and complications as we move to, through this experience of the eclipse season. What I want to say is it is not just the eclipse, okay? Yeah, eclipses highlight and intensify what's already going on in the heavens. Things in astrology do not happen alone, solo, in a vacuum, okay? If you've got things touching your astrological chart anyway from a transit or a progression that you have going on, there's another quality to how you're feeling. It depends. Are you getting a Pluto transit? Are you getting a Saturn transit? Or what are you getting? Maybe you're getting lots of Jupiter. But that, all of what's going on in the heavens and that which is happening to your chart and my chart and all, the eclipse is just going to turn the volume up on all of that. And there are things going on in the heavens that are affecting people right now. And the people who are reaching out to me and saying, it's been hard, I totally respect that. And I'm glad they're telling me, and I'm glad that they can feel it, they know it, they can name it. And this is really good. However, it's a complicated time. And what I want to talk about now is stuff that's happened in the last week, because remember, and if you saw my podcast, heard my podcast, saw the title of my podcast last week, which I said, buckle up, it's a weird week. It was a weird week. And last week was much more complicated than the coming week that we have. So I want to spend some time really reviewing what's been happening so everyone can sort of get on the page with why they don't feel good. The first thing that happened last week was that Saturn went back into Pisces. And that happened in the wee hours in this region of the world between Sunday night and Monday morning. Now, I went to bed, I told my alchemy class this the other night, I went to bed feeling really good on Sunday night. I felt great. I felt positive. I felt optimistic. I felt accomplished. I felt extremely grateful. And I was counting my blessings literally when I was getting into bed. And I woke up the next morning feeling like something happened in my sleep that was completely unsavory and like completely different and changed everything since Sunday night when I went to bed counting my blessings. And I have to say that this is, I'm sensitive to these cycles, right? So I'm going to feel Saturn stepping back into Pisces out of Aries, going backwards in the zodiac, going to the end of the zodiac again, okay? So all sorts of dreams came up for me about my dearly departed loved ones, and I woke up Monday morning feeling like I didn't want to get out of bed. And like I said, that's not how I went to bed on Sunday night. And so all of this subconscious stuff got raked up for me. And Saturn going into Pisces again, that's the house of the subconscious. That is the sign of the subconscious. So where's our eclipse? In Pisces. Is it with Saturn? Not quite. But it's highlighting the sign of Pisces. And the moon is jazzed from being an eclipse. And as I speak, it's touching the north node. So what's it doing? It's headed towards Saturn. And this experience of the eclipse is highlighting Saturn in Pisces, okay? So I'm telling people to go to Source, and that's what I said in my blog, but I'm also very aware that we need to have a whole lot of faith and trust right now because Pisces asks that of us, okay? It is the invisible realm. It is, what we can't see and touch. It's the veil to the other side. And if we can't touch it and we can't, like have it tangibly, which is what the Virgo South Node wants, then we are really at a place of not feeling very good, because we want something that we can touch and believe is in front of us. Okay? That speaks to reality, or so we think, because Saturn in Pisces is put the planet of reality in the sign of non-reality. And so going towards Pisces requires faith. Going towards Saturn in Pisces requires an enormous amount of faith, an enormous amount of trust, and connection with something greater than ourselves. And whatever, that might be your art. That might be your art. That might be your music. That might be something that's soothing to your soul. But we need this right now because eclipse season is never comfortable. And when we have Saturn sitting at the end of the zodiac in the same sign the eclipse is in, we tend to think all is lost. We don't believe in anything. We don't feel like we can trust anything. We don't feel like we can believe in ourselves. And so this is something I want to address, because right now more than ever, we need to believe in ourselves. And we need to believe in something greater than ourselves. So we need the cooperation of the co-creation, us and something greater. And you have to believe that what you've been doing and what your plans are and what you're working on and how you're living your life right now is leading to something, okay? Because I've had people telling me, they're not following up on things they've been doing. They dropped projects. They've lost interest in things. It's lackluster. And this is the sort of, I want to call it dryness of Saturn. Saturn's dry, and Pisces is wet. Pisces is juicy and flowing and watery and requires our faith. Saturn kind of makes it evaporate, dehydrate. And so if you feel kind of dehydrated right now, emotionally dehydrated, that is, it's Saturn. It's Saturn. And Saturn hanging out at the end of the zodiac, and eventually in November, Neptune's going to go back there too. So Saturn and Neptune at the end of the zodiac, we have to have hope above and beyond hope. We have to have optimism and faith like we have never had faith before, okay? You can't let Saturn dehydrate your faith, okay? You can't let Saturn do that. You can't let it take it away. So right now, things are going to feel intensified and exaggerated and amplified because of the eclipse. And really, this eclipse was trining Jupiter. It's, right now the moon is trining Jupiter. The North Node's trining Jupiter. This is a good place. It's what I think is really sort of overshadowing this whole thing is Saturn. And Neptune's still in Aries, so it may not be quite so emphatic, because Neptune, which rules Pisces, it has moved on and eventually will come back, but we don't need to think about that right now. We need to think about Saturn, which is what's causing the ouch. And if you feel blue and out of sorts and not like yourself, and you don't want to pick up your paintbrush, and you don't want to pick up your pen or any other artistic tool, or you don't feel like doing anything except vegging out, well, take some time. Maybe you need some extra sleep. It's Pisces after all. Take a hot bath, go for a swim, do something that connects you with the water, the ocean. But this is not a time to give up. It's not. It's not a time to give up. We can't give up. And this whole Saturn thing right now is really creating the illusion that we're at the end of our rope. Now, this is the nature of things at the end of the zodiac, and it's especially emphatic with Saturn. It's not like, Jupiter, Jupiter's like, okay, all right, I can maybe find some moments of optimism in like my questioning my faith. But this is something where we really feel like we're at the end of our rope and you're fed up and you want to just toss everything aside that you've worked for. You can't do that. All the people I know that are really successful got through times like this, just plowed on through it and worked with the tools they had and continued to believe in themselves. And so we have to believe in ourselves right now. We have to, more than ever. I really do believe that I'm hearing from people because it's the eclipse. Saturn went back into Pisces and Uranus stationed retrograde. Okay, so Uranus stirs the pot too, and that was Saturday, right? That stirred the pot. So Uranus always is topsy-turvy, and you think, I'm going to have a great eclipse. And then you wake up and you're like, well, what happened? I didn't have anything to drink. I feel like I'm hungover. Pisces, right? So this is really about, getting to the bottom of whatever it is and working through it, okay? You got to just keep moving. Now, I have some tools that I work with on a regular basis and that I absolutely did today. And while they work for me, and I can just tell you that I feel better, it's maybe they'll work for you. You can try. The first thing I have is a meditation practice. And you've heard me go on ad infinitum about meditating. I have a meditation practice, and I do that every single day, and more than once a day, usually in the morning, and then before I go to bed. I may do an extra one this evening. The more the energies feel like they get stuck, the more we double down on our meditation. The more we don't feel great, the more we find ourselves reverting to the old story, we double down on our meditation. So we have to maintain this. This is going to help clear things up, okay? I like Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations and the breath work that goes along with that. The breath work clears up the first 3 chakras or energy centers, as he calls them, and it brings all the old emotions up and out, and like getting that into your brain and clears up the emotions of anger and frustration and stuff that we hold in those first 3 chakras. You probably have to read his book to learn about that. Or watch some lectures he gives. But this has helped me tremendously. Okay, so that's one thing I do. Another thing I do is I take homeopathy. And I had a constitutional homeopath that I worked with 20 years ago, and she told me what my constitutional remedy was, which was phosphorus. And I highly recommend homeopathy. If you got the right remedy for yourself, if you get that right remedy, it's like a miracle, right? It really does help move energy, and it is not something that is a quick fix. Homeopathy takes work, just as meditation does, meaning that all these things I'm suggesting to you definitely help matters, but they bring up the old stuff to release it, okay? And we want to release it. We don't want to hold on to old emotions and stuff, right? So homeopathy is something that I find extremely helpful, and I know that I can go back and take my constitutional remedy when I have been feeling a little bit out of sorts. So I took that this afternoon. I felt so much better taking my homeopathy. I also refer to German New Medicine, and you can go to their website, learninggnm.com, the 2 G's in the center of Learning GNM. And I find that is really helpful for maybe some physical ailments or things relating the emotional cause of illness and to the body, and what's going on in the body emotionally that causes us to get sick. So that has always helped me, and it clears things up for me and works beautifully for me. So, but these, like I said, these may work for me. They may not work for you. I do have a homeopath, not the same one I saw, one that I trust, and I can refer you if you are interested. I also have a psychotherapist that I trust that I can refer you to. I also have a German new medicine doctor, practitioner that I can refer you to. I also have a naturopathic doctor that I can refer you to. Okay, so if you need any help, contact me, info@thegoldenastrologer.com, deb@debmcbride.com, and I can give you the support of other practitioners. Breath work is another thing that's really good. So there's a small breath that Dr. Joe does, and then there's people I do know that I can refer you to that do holotropic breath work or do much deeper longer breath work to help move the energy in your body. I highly recommend that. It's very, very helpful. Tapping is another thing I use when I need to. That works really well too. Emotional clearing. I do emotional clearings on people. I do emotional clearings on myself. Have to keep myself tuned up just as much as I have to help other people. So I do those things as well. I use my new vision system, emotional clearings, and just sort of talking through and working through the emotions helps. Okay. So these are all resources that I have that I use on myself. Believe me, I use things on a regular basis. I don't go months and months and months without doing any of this. Absolutely not. It's a daily practice. It's daily stuff. And this has, I think, helped me tremendously in not succumbing to the heavy energies of right now. I can feel the heavy energies of the eclipse. I felt it like settle in my body like thud this afternoon, okay? And I felt better this morning, and while the eclipse was actually happening, because I was in a meditation then, but I felt thud this afternoon, like thump, you know? And that's when I took my homeopathy. But I'm not exempt from this. Just because I know what's going on doesn't mean I'm exempt. It means that I have to work on myself just like I recommend everybody else does. So one of the things I did today, and this is such a Virgo Pisces eclipse thing, is that I cleaned my altar and my crystals. And it's so, Virgo's the cleaner, right? So I cleaned all my altar. I took everything off. I have a lot of crystals. I took a lot of crystals and cleaned them all. I smudged them all. I did a space cleanse. I did a big space cleanse of the house. I'll probably do some more after I finish recording this. And actually, someone brought me a new crystal today. My dear friend Monica brought me a Larimar stone, beautiful blue, and it's good for self-expression, among other things, of the throat chakra. And she went to the Dominican Republic, and it only can be mined from the Dominican Republic. So she had a business trip that she went on this past week, and she brought me back a beautiful Larimar, which is, like I said, only found from there. So if you find one elsewhere, it came from the Dominican Republic, and that's where they are mined. There's only one mine on Earth, or those islands right around there. So very beautiful. So I got a gift today. That was my eclipse gift, and I thought, oh, this is something very profound, that if I'm receiving a stone on an eclipse, and she gave it to me like an hour after the exact eclipse time, I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to this. So I did a really good cleanse of all the crystals and the house and just my altar, and cleaned everything up. Not just physically cleaned it, but energetically cleaned it. And this is a heavy energetic time. So I really recommend you do some, space cleanse of your house. I used Palo Santo. You could use sage, frankincense, myrrh, all those good herbs. They really help clear up the energies of right now. This coming week is a relatively quiet week compared to where we've been, but we are still shaking out the station retrograde of Uranus, and that is also going to go backwards into Taurus. So everything is going to go back to where it was, and we're not finishing anything, right? Pluto's done, thank God. Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus all are going to travel back to the sign previously until they make it out of the retrograde into direct motion, and then move into the new sign next year. Uranus is going to stay in Gemini until November, and then it's going back into Taurus for 5.5 months, and then it'll eventually go direct in February, and then leave Taurus and go into Gemini next year, the end of April. So we've really got a long stretch of that. So we're in a huge transition, and that's why it feels wonky right now. And so I can't stress enough how much you may need all sorts of support, and you may need to just stay patient with yourself and your life while we all go through this transition together. We are in this together, okay? That's why I do this podcast. That's why I do the work I do, to help people through these transitions. And certainly you can connect with me, you know, my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and you can set up a session with me. There are some positive aspects happening at the end of this week. On Friday, we're going to get the Sun sextile Jupiter, and that's a very positive, lovely aspect. We're going to get Mercury sextile Jupiter, and they're both in Virgo. The Sun and Mercury are both in Virgo. As you know, Mercury went into Virgo. It's in its own sign. It's in its own sign. Went there the other day. And Jupiter is in Cancer, one of its favorite signs. So this is good, positive energy, okay, and optimism, and maybe some of that will be restored. The Sun conjunct Mercury will happen on Saturday the 13th at 6:52 a.m. So they are going to be conjunct. They've been conjunct before. They travel very close together. So usually several times throughout the year, and especially during the Mercury retrograde, Mercury will come back and conjunct the Sun. So they do meet up quite often. And we're going to have one such meeting on Saturday. Other than that, it's really no other planets are changing signs except for the moon, which will move out of the sign of Pisces and enter Aries tomorrow at 2:37 p.m. That does not mean the eclipse will be over. The eclipses are not over until we have the second eclipse, and then we have a lunation afterwards, which will be another full moon, and that's a month from now. But we've got 2 more weeks till the second eclipse, okay? So take care of yourself during this time. Nurture yourself. Do things that are going to give you support, emotional support, and make you feel good. If it means taking a break from your work and just, taking a day and just taking yourself out to lunch, maybe just going and getting your favorite warm beverage, like a nice hot chocolate. Maybe it just means some extra self-love and care are important for you right now, okay? I'm going through this too. We're all going through this. This is a very intense time. The planets are asking us to step forward and recognize our new life, and then step backwards and finish up the old. And where do you want the new life to occur? What part of your life do you want to move into that creates newness for you? Do you want a new job? Do you want to not repeat the patterns of the past? Do you not want to repeat your family's patterns of the past? What is it that you are trying to achieve that's new for your life? Because everybody's life is going to change. So thinking about how you want your life to change, and you are in control of that. You can make that happen. Yes, it takes some sort of work. I'm not saying because I have a meditation practice, it's easy. That's part of my work towards a new life. So you can do that too. But you have to decide what you're willing to do and what you want to change, and take advantage of this time, because we are being given an opportunity to really have control over the next level of our lives and moving into something new. And that's a great thing. So don't feel like you're at the end of your rope. Feel like you're at the edge of leaving everything behind and moving into something new. But be certain that there is a path through now to get to the other side of this, to cross that river of change, okay? That's what we need to pay attention to right now. Now, while we are at a North Node eclipse, the Sun does go to the South Node. It will do that on Wednesday, and that would be the 10th. And that south node can pull us into an old vortex of thoughts, ideas, obsessions, worries, like I said earlier in this presentation, that we can get sucked into the old patterns of thinking. Try not to let that happen. This is a North Node eclipse. Let's focus on what's fulfilling for us and where we can further our trust in something greater than ourselves and in ourselves, more importantly. We have to believe in ourselves. Okay, so when that south node comes meeting with the sun on Wednesday, I would say that you have to be careful not to let old habits creep into your mind and your consciousness, okay? You have to try to steer your energy out of that and think about what's fulfilling for you, and feel into what's fulfilling for you, and don't allow yourself to get sucked into the vortex of the south node. Okay? That's also happening the same day the moon is going to square Pluto, which also can sort of dredge up emotions from the past. The moon in Taurus squaring Pluto. Okay? So let's try to keep calm, focused on our future, and focused on our fulfillment, okay? And not allow ourselves to get sucked back into the past. In the meantime, if you need my support, I am here. You can have a session with me. Just go to my website, goldenastrologer.com, and click book online, and that will take you to a page where you can book astrology with me, Reiki with me. Reiki is another thing I use on myself to work through these times. I clear up the obstacles. I clear the things that are bothering me. So yeah, I have to have faith in myself too. So I use my Reiki, and I also can see you for expansion mentoring. If you feel that this time of planets circling around, going back and forth before they make big changes, is something that you need support through, well, then we can do 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months in expansion mentoring. And you can contact me about that if you have questions. info@thegoldenastrologer.com, deb@debmcbride.com. I'm also on Instagram, and Instagram is The Golden Astrologer. That's my handle. And you can find me making videos and things about what's going on at the moment. So I may have some other enlightening things that turn up during the week that I may say as I recognize them after this podcast is finished. So something may come up tomorrow and I go, hey, you know what? This is a good point. I'm going to go make a video about this. Or I make some posts to get you along through these weeks. Thank you so much for listening. My blog is up on my website. Go read it if you haven't, if you're not on my mailing list. If you're not on my mailing list, you can go read the blog. You can sign up for my mailing list on my website, thegoldenastrologer.com. Be blessed in these days ahead. Be grateful. I'm grateful for all of you. I thank you so much for listening and being here with me, and I will see you on the internet and back here on the Golden Astrologer Podcast next Sunday. Thank you so much for listening. Gratitude to all.